Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame Red Dragon video today by me, Vulcan. Today I'm playing a 3 versus 3 on 38th parallel, and today I'm playing with Jed Crockett and Val on the blue forward side, and my opponents are Placid Logic, Tyrannosaurus Rex and Nixon on the red force side. Now, in regards to this map, you can see that there is currently 4 sectors on either side of a river, which can make this map pretty static in terms of tactical decision making, because if the enemy has most of the bridges covered and you're not using amphibious or helicopters, then you know it can become a massive camp fest, and generally you can't, there's not many ways around it, especially later in the game when the enemy may have a lot of air support, and you'll see that take effect in this game. Now, one thing that I must let you guys know is that since this replay, the 38th parallel map has been changed. They've added a new contested sector in the center of the map, which is worth like a massive 8 points, and it's basically there to make the map a little bit more exciting, because I think what was really the problem was how the sectors were spread out, and now that there is a contested sector, it gives you more encouragement to go over to the other side of the river and actually take down enemy CVs. So I'm currently on TeamSpeak with Jed Crockett and Val at the time of this game, and it did unfortunately change to a 2 versus 3 about 5 minutes into the game because Jed had to leave, but still, me and Val were left to finish off the rest of the game and did quite a good job. Now, as you can see, we've already sorted out where we're going to go. Jed has got Golf and Alpha, I've got India up on the right, and Val's going to be taking a Bravo and Hotel, and Jed's also going to be pushing on to Charlie. Or at least that was the plan. What we wanted to do was use Alpha and Bravo to cover Charlie with the use of these towns, and then basically hit it and take it for ourselves. Whereas on the right, it's not so easy for the enemy to do the same thing, so I would hopefully secure India and make sure that the enemy wouldn't come across the river. So let's have a look at my starting forces. Just going to zoom all the way in to get rid of the horrible lag that comes with the special viewer, especially when considering this replay is actually pretty old. So I've got 4 Lynx AH1s with ATGM Milan teams. I've got 4 Lynx AH1s with Javelin squads. I've also got some Lynx AH1s with SAS, I believe, and a Lynx AH7 with a Command Infantry squad. Then I've got Rover Pinky, which is an exceptional recon jeep, which is planning to head up to this forest here and keep watch over the enemy as they prepare to approach the river. Then I've got a Leopard AS1 for ground fire support, and 2 Stormer HVMs, which are basically ADAT systems, which can fire at both air units and ground units with ATGMs. Then we've got an A22 Squirrel, and that's just a plain recon helicopter. A nice helicopter this, I really like to use it. It's Australian, and basically it's fast and it's very small, which makes it very useful as a recon vehicle in general. So as you can probably notice, my troops are very much focused on defense, and that was just to make sure that India was well secured before I helped on the left with Val and Jed, who are going to push over to Charlie. So Val's got some Lynx AH7s moving up to land at Charlie very early on. They've been spotted by an MD500D and a couple of Z9 TY90s. These are very awesome infrared AA choppers, but as you can see, Val cleverly smoke screens his Lynx AH7s as they land with some Bison 81mm. Now, I used a couple of Lynx 3s to cover the approach. Unfortunately, the Z9s have a longer range than the Lynx 3s in terms of infrared missiles, so my Lynx 3 gets shot down. I also lose a Eurofighter at the start of the game because I get caught out by the fact that the enemy brings in 2 Su-27 SKs, which really I didn't expect that at all. Generally, people don't spend so much on air at the start of the game if they are occupied with capturing sectors, and I guess because they spent so much on the air, it gave us this opportunity to get men into Charlie. So now we've got 4 squads of SAS here, 2 squads of Royal Marines which are heading to this compound on the left. We've also got a Gazelle AH-1 heading up, giving us recon on this side of the map. Now meanwhile on the right you can see that I've dropped off my SAS on this side of the river. Then I've sent my Lynx AH-1s that have been used to spread out these Milan 2s. And I'm just flying them over the area, seeing what's coming. You can see that I'm revealing a lot of APCs and AA and so on, and it's giving me a rough idea of how much threat there is going to be on the right hand side. See, I even spot these 3 Cub Ms, knowing that it's probably going to be a bad idea to fly any aircraft over this side of the map. Jed Crockett isn't having any of it though, and as you can see, completely annihilates the majority of the enemy's forces with 2 aardvarks. He's actually using a Commonwealth airborne deck, which allows him to bring in 2 aardvarks, and that's why you saw that there. Now, as my SAS squads were advancing, they were being shot at by sniper squads. Then 2 squads of FJB-40, which should technically be equal to the SAS, do start engaging me. And they have the same veterancy, it's just that the SAS were already depleted when they engaged, and also I didn't stop my SAS to fight from a static position. Now that's very important to consider. When you're using infantry, as soon as you engage and you are in the same amount of cover, in this case dense forest, as soon as you're in that same cover as the enemy, make sure you stop your forces, right click on the enemy's opponent's infantry so that your men stand still, and therefore they don't need to rely on their stabilizer in order to get accurate shots. Now, what you can see on the left is some approaching T-72Ms, which are basically pushing back Val from his position. He's still got the 4 groups of SAS here, but his Stormer HVM has taken a bit of damage, and I'm now using my Lynx 3 to scare these tanks off. Now, as soon as I see the approaching helicopters, I know these are the Z9s, so I instantly make sure that my Lynx 3 is flying in the opposite direction. But they're not going to come too far forwards because they also know that we have SAS in this forest, and they do have their own infrared missiles to shoot down helicopters. So while I'm micromanaging on the left, you can see that I've just got some static units here, some more ATGMs and SAS and stuff. I've since moved my Leopard AS1 to the right side at this bridge here with the Stormer HVM sitting in this hedge line. Now, it's pretty easy to actually defend this area of the map because of these headlines and forests and so on. Also, this is a very nice area to place recon. Then you've got the village on the left, which is good for covering this bridge. So the only real places that the enemy could surprise us at the moment is actually in the center here. So now I've had the chance to move up my Lynx 3, and I'm actually using it to take out some more units. A Malyutka goes down there and another T-72M. We've also spotted Tyrannosaurus Rex's ZZZ 701 command vehicle with the use of a couple of transport choppers, which are basically utterly destroying this radar AA. So with that spotted, doesn't stand much of a chance against Val's 4 Bison 81mm mortars, and is forced to retreat. Now that leaves the zone actually uncontested, as 2 TO-55s get close to the SAS squads of Val. Now these have napalm, but the SAS have 83mm AT4 heat rockets, and at close range, they aren't going to miss. And unfortunately for Tyrannosaurus Rex, he loses both of those tanks very quickly. Now, since moving up his forces, Val has also brought up 2 CH-147 cargoes, which allows me to resupply my Lynx 3 at the front line. Basically just use up all those rockets, land it, and it's ready to go again. 8 Hellfire missiles ready to fire. I'm trying to get close to this MD-500D so that I can shoot it down with the infrared missiles of the Lynx 3. But instead, I settle for an MI4, which if we go to the neutral perspective, doesn't have anything in, it's just being used as recon. So it's worth getting rid of that so that the Royal Marines didn't reveal their position. Let's just jump back to our point of view. So I've since dropped the Milan 2 squads that were in these Lynx AH1s into this forest to join the Rover Pinky. I've dropped the javelins into the back of this town, some SAS into this town just here, so that if any vehicles were to head down this road, I'd be able to pick them off, or if anything came from these bridges, then we'd be much better off. I'm also now securing this town to cover Charlie with some ATGMs and some Lynxes. And this is to cover obviously these 2 bridges here. Just basically making a unpenetrable defense. My Milan F2 squads getting a chance to snipe the odd vehicle here and there. Got a MT LB Strela 10M on the move. Is being fired upon and killed by one of my Milan 2 squads. So now I've got some Lynx AH1s left over from dropping off all this infantry, and they're being suicided towards the enemy. And while they basically distract the AA of the enemy, it allows my Lynx 3 to take it out with a Hellfire missile. And then I'm free to pretty much use the Lynx 3 to kill any more units I can find. So there's another one. And my Lynx 3 will just continue to pop these APCs, while a aardvark of my own comes in and bombs a few of the enemy's AA. Now you can see, since Jed has actually left the game now, myself and Val both have 2 aardvarks each, but unfortunately Val loses one of his aardvarks to the enemy's MiG-29s. But now he's had the chance to move up a couple of warriors with Fusiliers in them. I'm still flying around with my Lynx 3s. I've actually got 2 of them now. And I'm now also bringing up my own FV432s with infantry in them. You can see once again Val is using smoke cover to get his Lynx AH1 with command infantry into the sector and neutralize it, giving us a +2 advantage on the conquest points. My Lynx 3 is heading off towards a PGZ and is trying to get a missile towards it, but unfortunately gets shot down by that. Now the PGZ-95 is actually a pretty good unit. If it wasn't fast moving then and didn't have a great stabilizer, then that would have been dead meat. But unfortunately, because it does have those things, my Lynx 3 didn't really stand a chance. The Lynx 3s only have 6 health after all, and that autocannon can be pretty powerful. So now the enemy decides to fly 2 MiG-29s directly over all of my javelins, and somehow manages to get away without a single scratch, which was pretty amazing. My FV432s, however, are managing somehow to get quite far up with the Fusiliers. I didn't manage to drop one squad out though before it got blown up, and the Fusiliers that are left out of the open, well, they don't stand much of a chance against two T-72Ms which are still in the area. However, I do remain persistent and continue to bring the F-432s over as I decide to bomb the T-72s with my aardvark. And this does in fact kill the enemy's command vehicle at the back of Charlie. And my other aardvark also manages to get out of there, away from the Su-27SK. Finally though, we managed to shoot down one of the MiG-29s, and we have full control of Charlie. So basically, the way we managed to recognize that was there, you can see obviously Val put an attack marker there for me to bomb it. Where we have a presence in this forest here with Val's Fusiliers, it allowed us to identify that there were enemies, or the enemy command vehicle would have to be in this headline. And that's basically how we worked it out. You can see Val's got a number of Eurofighter Typhoons now. He actually has 6 at the moment, because since Jed left the game, it gave us access and more availability to our troops, which means that you can have more of each aircraft. And like I was saying in a previous match, I really think it is pretty unbalanced, the way that if somebody leaves on like a 3v3 or a 4v4, that everyone gets like the equivalent of an extra aircraft for each card. Because if you think about it, so say an aardvark. Aardvarks are very, very powerful bombers. If one person leaves, you get an extra aardvark. Now in a 3v3 scenario, let's do the maths. You've got 3 aardvarks if you have 3 players, and that's if each player has 1 card of aardvarks. If one person leaves, it gives 1 aardvark to both players, which now means the team has 4 aardvarks, controlled by 2 players, which is very, very powerful, and is exactly what we made use of throughout this game to secure Charlie. Now alongside that, we now have access to Val's own 6 Eurofighter Typhoons, and I also have 3 of my own, which gives us ultimate air domination purely because 1 player left, which is actually pretty ridiculous. Now again, we're continuing to bomb into this tree line to make sure that we can get rid of any of the opposing forces. Val brings in a Sea Harrier FA2 and manages to kill a ROM. And now what I'm preparing for is to move up these ATGM, SAS squads and Javelin squads into positions that will allow us to take full control of Charlie. Bringing in my own Sea Harrier now to kill off the cub that was left over. Doesn't really manage to get any kills and gets shot down by this cub all the way over here. But now it's time to bring up some ADATs, some Stormer HVMs, and meanwhile on the right I'm now being attacked by the enemy who are rushing across this bridge with Scott 2 APCs, some Topaz 2 APs, we've got T-72 M1M, and I'm basically defending with what was 2 Stormer HVMs and a Leopard AS1, shitting myself a little bit here because honestly my Milan 2 squads aren't in the right position in order to defend against that, but what can we do? Oh, I know, air support. I'm bringing in 2 aardvarks and you'll see just how much damage they do to this enemy. Goodbye enemy push. That is OP. Now I felt actually sorry for the enemy after doing that. And you can see that Placid Logic actually brings in 2 Su-7Bs to actually napalm the forest to make sure that that push would be successful. But after the push actually got destroyed, Val brought in 6 Eurofighter Typhoons and shot them down instantly with the accuracy that comes with them. So even though they've managed to now get another CV into the back of Charlie, we are still at this +2 advantage because we continue to contest the sector. Val's amphibious mortars are actually riding on water, which is pretty exciting, and they are continuing to provide a continuous barrage onto enemy positions, taking out small units like this AA just here, this HQ7. See, I'm also in the meantime making use of 2 AS-90s, and they were just used then to panic these 2 K-22 Tunguskas and almost kill them. Now, using some smoke on this bridge, I managed to get a Challenger 2 forwards. We use this to press the attack onto their T-72Ms that they have in the area, while the Bisons of Val continue to harass the enemy's anti-air. Also got 2 Stormer HVMs, very useful vehicles for taking out both light and medium tanks and also any light vehicles in the area. But this Challenger 2 is really what's doing the damage here. Very fast loading gun. We've got, what was it, 10 rounds per minute. I've also got my Lynx 3 with its Hellfire missiles, kill off some of these tanks. And then we've got a Z9A HJ8 spoiling the fun with its 4 Sakos missiles. Fortunately, most of those miss, and we're just waiting on my Stormer HVM to shoot that down. Furthermore, these TY-90s that are coming round, I guess they're planning to shoot down my Lynx 3, and knowing that my Lynx 3 is both low on ammo and health now, I actually retreat that. And my Stormer HVMs are now targeting the APCs that are coming down this road. But with the help of my Milan 2 squads, I'm managing to pick off these tanks as well. Now, seeing this threat appear, I'm reversing my Challenger 2 to help out. But both of these T-72s didn't stand a chance, sitting on an open road with ATGMs firing into the side. So again, 6 Eurofighter Typhoons coming in. We managed to take out the enemy's Su-27SK again. And I use the Aardvark to wipe out their AA and their cargo. Now another Su-27SK does come in, manages to kill one of the Lynx AH-1s, but I managed to drop out my SAS first, and they killed the last of the Z9 helicopters. I've also now got 2 Milan 2 teams on the floor, and they are helping us secure the victory to win the game. And there we have it. Pretty awesome game that makes extremely good use of smoke throughout the game. I was really impressed with how Val used his mortars to provide both artillery cover onto AA and pick off the random AA units that were left about, and also the smoke that was used to cover the bridge and the advance of his helicopters at the start, and the smoke that also covered his CV landing in the area. And it basically allowed us to secure the victory of that game as long as we continue to contest that sector. So yeah, a very, very interesting game there, and it shows you a good way of using smoke to sort of break the stalemate that can very easily happen on a map like that, where you've got like a river and it's pretty easy to defend bridges, as you can see by the aardvarks and stuff that we were using. As soon as the enemy actually pushes across a bridge later in the game, you can just reply with endless amounts of bombers. And that is really something that I don't particularly like about Red Dragon, but it's something that you have to do in order to like remain at the same level as your opponent, because people aren't not going to use something that's OP. So you've got to make use of it yourself, which is in some ways annoying, but hopefully a lot of the bombers will get a little bit of a nerf, because basically the aardvarks in general, aardvarks have low ECM, so they're pretty easy to shoot down if you have AA in the right areas. But as long as the player who's using the aardvarks actually makes decent use of seed missiles, then there's not much you can do about it. Also, one thing that a lot of people do when they're pushing with large forces is they neglect AA completely, or at least they leave it at the back of their force. Now, it's intelligent to leave the AA towards the back, but not so far away that if a bomber came in, you have nothing to react to it. Something that you can also try out is that just having air superiority in general, so you bring in like an Su-27SK as you're pushing, and then if the enemy does bring in enemy aircraft, as long as the area isn't too defended with AA, you can get away with shooting down the enemy bombers before they blow up your forces. Because it just seems so hard at the moment to really push on the enemy, and I think that needs to be rectified. Although, as you can see, with the use of smoke, we did manage to get away with it ourselves. So anyway, the enemy put up a really good fight. It was a pretty interesting game, and we both came out with really nice KDs. My Lynx 3 is managing to pick up a lot of kills, as you can see. This one Taylor managed to kill, what was that, 5 T-72Ms, 2 Malyutkas, a Strela, an ZSD, that's just a carrier I think, and then a T-055. Very good job there. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that, guys. One more video to add to the collection. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.